Good morning, everybody. Stu Smith here going live. Hope you guys are well. Today, we are going to show some CSS videos as well as take some questions at the end. But as you guys hop on here, I'm going to talk about a topic that I put kind of front and center of this new book here, the Never Quit Mindset. It's chapter 2, and it's about living a hard life. And what does that mean? I've heard many people talk about mental toughness in a variety of different ways, from scientists discussing the hormonal and neuropeptide Y balance and DHEA and all these different things that they try to measure what mental toughness is. And then I hear other people use anecdotal evidence of their observations where they say, most people who are getting through this type of training come from broken homes and uh, grew up poor and not having some of the basic essentials. And I don't think either one of them is 100% accurate. I'm sure I've seen many people who've lived a hard life and gone on to do really great things, whether it is special operations, business, improve their lifestyle tenfold, because they grew up in that, really hard. Like, their definition of hard is different than all of ours. When you grow up and you don't have food on the table or new clothes to wear, um, or a house to live in, even, um, that's a different level of challenge that a lot of people don't have. And if you do have it, you have an opportunity to turn that around and really become more resilient than the average person. However, I've seen many people become resilient and mentally tough and physically tough who had perfect childhoods, and if there's such a thing, with loving parents, went to church every Sunday, never needed anything. Um, I'm one of those guys. I'm one of those guys that, grew up, never needed anything. Um, if I wanted something, I had to work for it. So there were some things instilled in me in a very young age of you had to work for things that you wanted. Um, but I had the infrastructure there to do that. A lot of people don't have that. So while I understand, yes, you know, you can become mentally tough coming from a broken home and traumatic experiences. It can also be a crutch, and you lack the confidence, you lack the ability to move on forward. You didn't grow properly, and so there's some yin and yang to both of those. The scientific one is like you can't measure somebody's heart. Yes, you might be able to look at their hormonal numbers and their you know lactate thresholds and VO2 max and try to come up with a scientific reason why somebody gets through something really challenging. But in the end, you can't measure someone's heart, and it doesn't really matter where you come from, what kind of background you come from, as long as you have been inspired in some way and you have initial motivation to start getting to work. Because you can't get mentally and physically tough unless you start doing something. You can read about it, you can watch movies about it. Doesn't do any good unless you're doing it yourself. And I think that is the biggest common denominator, no matter how your lifestyle was when you were a child. Um, and you move on forward, you know, being tougher. Just because you put in the work, you built a consistent daily habit, you appreciated what you got, because sometimes just being comfortable um, is a great uh, luxury that a lot of people don't have. And when I say comfortable, just sitting in a chair and flicking the TV while you're chilling out, a lot of people don't have that opportunity to do that. Or just sitting in a backyard of your house, listen to nature. That I have come over years of realizing this is a moment that I'm really grateful for. So when you have that hard life and then you have these luxuries, very minimal luxuries, you are very grateful for it. And it humbles you. You never forget where you come from, but I think you do come back a little bit stronger, regardless of your background. But it does take an attitude of gratitude, I think, to grow into this. So there's a lot to unwrap in what makes someone mentally tough, but the common denominator is you get inspired, you have a reason why you want to do something, you start building a work ethic with habits and consistency, and throughout the years of you pushing yourself in that direction of that goal, you eventually you keep doing things even when you don't feel like it. And that is when discipline takes over and mental toughness is soon to follow, and physical toughness is soon to follow. So that is the evolution of it. And I'm a firm believer in it doesn't really matter what your background is. Sure, some backgrounds are probably more suited for resilience than others, but the common denominator is work. You have to know how to work, and you have to work consistently towards those goals. Next thing you know, you're kind of building that foundation. So when you have any goal, whatever decade in life you're in, you have a goal, you now have a system in your mind and body of how to go achieve that. And that's what it's all about. So welcome to the Q&A section of this Tuesday show. I'm going to take a few questions, and then I do have a few videos I want to show you. Some of these are some of my favorites over the years, and then if you got any questions after that, we'll keep on going. Brian says, living in a hut in northern Thailand, no TV, no cell phones, just your book. My son and I used it daily. Oh, that's awesome. Great, great times. Yeah, that's good living, man. I thought you were just going to say just a book, but you said mine. That's fun. Uh, Thanks for that. Can I work out every day? People say you shouldn't, but people are working out every day in the military. That's not true. I don't think you should work out every day. I mean, some people like it. Um, you can do something every day. I would say, when I look at my weeks, I have 5 challenging workouts a week, usually in a split routine of upper body, lower body, full body, cardio days, spread throughout the week, 5 hard ones. And then I have an easy one put there in the middle of the week I call mobility day. But that day is not necessarily easy. Mobility day is not easy if you do it right, because flexibility and mobility, you quickly learn where your limits are. And if you're pushing those limits, it's hard. And it takes time to get better at your flexibility and mobility. So check out my mobility day, add that. So that's my 6th workout. And then my 7th workout, I call it Sunday. And I may do some things, but usually it's a walk with mobility work, nothing crazy. So I can't say I do nothing as a rest day. I'm doing something. It could be yard work, raking leaves, mowing the grass, moving mulch bags. So I'm doing something, some activity, but it's not necessarily a hard workout. So my advice for you, Ever Campos, who likes to work out every day or thinking about working out every day, is if you do it, you got to be smart about it and not do the same exercises day after day after day. That's where people screw up and they just wind up getting tendonitis, injuries, overuse injuries from running, reps, not recovering, not seeing results. There's a lot of reasons why you don't want to work out every day because you only grow when you heal, and healing takes rest. So, to compromise with that, if you create your split routines correctly, and this is just a basic method of doing it, you can do upper body one day, lower body the next. Upper body one day, lower body the next. I happen to do it this way: upper one day, lower the next, mobility day, upper, lower body, big cardio day. You can flip it however you want. Sometimes we'll do a little more upper body on that big cardio day as well. Depends on what phase we're in. So there's my answer for you. Morning, Stu. When doing the CSS with fins, should I be doing endless flutter kicks or should I incorporate a scissor kick? Great question. I do it both ways. And let me tell you, it's more strategic than it is a technique thing. I think you should learn both. I personally like to go constant flutter kicks against the current. So if the current's going this way, I'm kicking against it. You can't, there's no glide phase to it. You're just constantly kicking. However, if you turn around and you're going back the same direction, which a lot of these open water swims look like in spec ops training, when you come back, you can just do a kick, hold the glide, kick, hold the glide, and move with the current. You just have to make sure you're doing it right. And the ways you know that is you can kind of see yourself moving along the coast because you're swimming parallel to the coast. You know, if you see yourself moving backwards, you need to start kicking, right? If you see yourself moving, you're hardly, you get down there and like you do a mile in 15 minutes, you know you've been pushed by the current. Now you're going to have to really pump up those legs to get through that current going back, and it may take you 30 minutes to go back. That's just a sample number. But yeah, I do both. I personally, here's another one for you too with the fin, no fin thing. On my weak side, I enjoy constant flutter kicks. On my strong side, I like to do a kick and glide with little flutter kicks in the middle if needed. Swimming today, what's something I should get at in the pool? I don't know. I mean, get it on the program. I mean, I could pick a dozen of them for you. I mean, today is our leg day, so we're just swimming with fins. We're going to tread water 10 minutes, no hands. That's our warm up for swimming. Then we're going to put on our fins and we're going to swim 2,500 yards. That's just what today's schedule is. If you don't have fins, then my advice would be do 10 to 15, 50, 50. That means 50 free, hard, 50 CSS to catch your breath. Minimal rest, 50, 50, over and over again. 50 free, 50 CSS. That's a great way to get into swimming shape. All right, let me share something. I just want to show a few CSS videos here. These are some good ones. And I think you'll see just some minor critique issues that need to occur. All right, so we got a good kick off the wall. I like this streamlined position. Feet could be a little closer together. Once again, I'm being very nitpicky right now. So let me share this. Kick off the wall, holds that glide. Didn't lose any momentum. Noticed he didn't do a breaststroke pullout. He just went from here to breathing. Get an extra breath when you do that. All right, so I like this. Good glide, top arm, bottom arm kick. He moves his feet a little too much. I don't think you need that. Something I do to avoid all this little foot movement here is after I kick, I put one foot on top of the other, just like this, right? So pretend this is my foot. I do my kick, and one foot stays on the other so it doesn't move when I move my arms. If you do a lot of freestyle, sometimes your legs will involuntarily move with your arms. Or if you're new to swimming, it will happen too. It's almost like a balance thing in the water. So I put one foot on top of the other, and it helps keep my feet together and helps just tighten up that streamline. Now, the one thing I do notice here is this this top arm kind of leads with the elbow. You'll see it a lot better on the way back. Kick off the wall. I like that. That looks smooth underwater. But notice when he pulls, see how his elbow's leading that pull? What you want to do is, it's called the freestyle catch. So if you're really wondering how to do the top arm pull of the CSS, I want you to Google search, YouTube search the term freestyle catch. In fact, I'll put it in here. Freestyle catch. Google it and watch some videos. Because what needs to happen is that hand needs to get way down, and that elbow, your hand and wrist need to be lower than your elbow. If your elbow is leading, like this, you're missing out on all of this to grab water. So you want to pretend you're reaching over a barrel, grabbing water out in front of you, pulling it with your lats, and then pushing it with your triceps. That is a freestyle catch. And you will definitely see some power in your pull if you can learn how to do that with your top arm. Your bottom arm's just a little breaststroke skull. Don't have to do a full stroke there. You see how he just kind of sweeps it up under him? Doesn't even take it down to his waist. Just right here. But this is really good. Doesn't pop his head up to breathe. A little bit of a pop up, but nothing bad. But this is a 48-second 50, so can't argue with the results on that one. He's swimming 8 minutes, so that's really good. Share, because he's just one of my favorite guys. I think this is him. It's always fun to watch this guy swim because, one, he's so good, and he's a non-swimming athlete too. So for those who are non-swimming athletes, you have no excuse. This guy has some shoulder mobility. Notice how he keeps his arms straight, his head's ducked down. I mean, that is a good streamlined body position. If you can't do this, then you have shoulder and elbow mobility issues. Usually that comes with bigger biceps and traps. So you got to work on some mobility there. So let's go. Kick off that wall like a torpedo. Boom. No double arm pull. Did you see that? Top arm, bottom arm. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4. Now, I will tell you this. I don't care if he's going to 4, just because look how streamlined he is. He never stops moving, even going on to 4 Mississippis. That's some serious efficiency there. In fact, let's count it. We'll call that 1 stroke, 2 strokes, 3 strokes, 4 strokes, 5 strokes. There you go. That's 5 strokes, and he did that in 43 seconds. So you might as well see that again because it's just so good. So 43-second 50, and he can maintain that for the full 500. and he usually swims a 7:30 sometimes. So he's in that range. He hasn't broken 7 yet, but I mean, I tell people once you're this fast, you don't need to be any faster. Even if you're 8 minutes, you don't need to be any faster because you're still going to beat 80% of the people in the water if you're swimming 8 flat. Typically, if you're swimming 7, you're top 10%, maybe even 5%. But that's if you're looking for a good CSS, this is how you do it. I have this video up on my Instagram Reels. I think I have it up on YouTube Shorts as well as TikTok as well. You can find this one. I usually put something like perfect CSS as the title or excellent, but this is just one of the best. So it's almost like why show others because it doesn't get any better than that. um, let's see. Hmm. Well, you know what? Let's take questions. If we come back, if we have time, I'll maybe show some more videos. But I got some other questions over here on Instagram. Hey Stu, what do you think of EOD guys? I'm thinking of joining the Warrior program after some fleet time. I think they're awesome. I think that community is awesome. I can't tell you how many people have come through here with EOD as their primary choice, whether it was officer, enlisted, men and women. They are a great community. In fact, my best friend was the admiral of the EOD community. Spent 35 years in the EOD community. So talking to him, I know it really well through his experiences. Did a swim this morning, and after 100 yards, my lats were burning, super sore. Any way to strengthen them or mitigate this pain, soreness, because I had to stop swimming and take more rest. Harry, it's the way it works. My advice is yes, you could do more pull ups and rows and pull downs, but you really just need to kind of get into swimming shape. The good news is if your lats are sore, you're swimming properly. Because a lot of people just move their arms and they don't even really engage their lats with that pull. So if your lats are sore, you're doing it right. That's the way it works. You just got to get them in shape. Keep swimming. I think swimming more is going to get those better. And also stretch. I usually swim a couple 100 yards and then I feel my lats and my triceps. And so I'll stretch my shoulders, stretch my lats. I'll hang from the swimming pool ladder, or we have a pull-up bar too off the pool deck where I'll just hang and stretch there, do some chest stretches, do some lat stretches. Yeah, but stretch and then get back in and you'll see that it goes away. All right, let's see. Looks like we got a bunch of questions over here. Bjorn says, "Hey Stu, SF 18 Alphas and SEAL platoon commanders, what opportunities or jobs are available to them if they want to be active with the boys?" You're still going through all the training. And then when it becomes a more operational side, there are jobs out there that you have officers on the missions with, whether it's SDV ops, it's marine operations, it's FID, foreign internal defense, it's direct action stuff. So it just depends. It just depends on the situation. Whenever it's a all-out war, you're going to see each of these units kind of tapped with mission planning and intel reports and things like that. That gets very involved. Logistics of all those missions, the officers are responsible for that. They can also delegate some of that. and then just being responsible for the ops too. And there's always someone over you as well, so you're having to relay information to other people as well. Um, a lot of people go over to Dev Group, or Delta, and extend their career. So that's an opportunity. I'm not sure how it works for officers in the Army. I know they have to often go back to um, non special ops programs or special ops units, conventional units, depending on how high they get in their ranking. But eventually you rank out of actual ops. But situations happen, and sometimes there's quick reaction forces that are put together, and there's 05, 06s in there shooting and doing stuff. So, it really depends. You can look, there's historical, some of the ribbons out there that have been earned, were quick reaction forces that had senior officers involved as well. So it really depends on, once again, it depends on the situation and the thing that you're in. If we're in a time of peace, nobody's seeing anything but probably the tier 1 unit guys. What's a highlight of your time coaching? Is there a moment or student you had that made you appreciate what you do so much more? You're the man. Well, thank you, Bjorn. I appreciate that. You know what? I've helped countless people get in better shape, swim faster, run faster, be prepared for whatever they were going to do. But I will tell you, the most rewarding ones are the ones that actually get a lifestyle change out of it. So, for instance, an 80 to 100-pound overweight kid who wants to serve, who just still in high school, soft, never played sports, just big kid, and wants to get in shape so he can serve. Those are probably the best ones. In fact, I can think right now, kid lost 80 pounds. Took him a couple of years to actually lose 80 pounds and then get in shape, but he became an Army Ranger. Still in. Probably one of the best swimming stories I've ever had, and I've told this a couple of times, was when this kid comes in and says he needs help swimming. I'm like, okay, let's see what you got. And so he just starts swimming horribly from one end of the pool to the other. And when he gets to the other end, he's celebrating with himself, like saying, yes. And I'm like, what? I was like, what am I looking at? Because that was awful. That was like 20 strokes to get across the pool. I didn't tell him this. And he goes, that's my first time ever swimming across the pool. I'm like, okay. Now I had a context on how to coach him and understand where that person was coming from, wanted to be a SEAL. And a year later, he was at Buds, got through Buds, and now is in the SEAL teams. So those are some of my favorites. What do you think a direct correlation between age and success in Spec Ops? Providing you're in great shape physically, how much of a difference does life experience make? I think a ton. Life experience is a ton, and maturity has a ton of success tied to it. However, every class I'm proven wrong by some 18-year-old kid getting through just because that kid is just tough enough and never quit, and probably just too dumb to quit, if that makes any sense. I don't want to say that the person's stupid. It's just like he doesn't know any better. He's just gonna that's what he has to do. That's what his teacher's telling him to do. He's going to go do it. But usually, most young kids don't have that kind of success. In fact, the majority of the attrition rate, especially in SEAL training, is teenagers. Every class never fails. In fact, most of the people are who make it in at Buds, always talk about the first 4 weeks that it was just like every day people were quitting left and right of them. And 9 times out of 10, they were teenagers. So the older guys tend to make it a little bit better. Now, I will say there's a fine line, but there's a window, I would say, where you have like this bell curve, right? Let's think about the bell curve. So you have like 18, 19-year-old kids barely making it through. You have 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So you have the backside of that, and probably 30 plus is just as a small amount of graduation rates as the other. So, yeah, I would say think of it as a bell curve from 19 to 30, and the peak is somewhere in the middle where success with age is. Did your 10-week beginner running program to 5K last summer, run walk really fixed my gait? Oh, nice. No running since the fall. To start again, nice weather. Is there a more abbreviated protocol? I'd be honest with you, if you haven't run much, don't abbreviate anything. I mean, treat yourself like a beginner. I'm serious. So start off, run, walk. And if that's too easy for you, just give it a week and then maybe start off at 5 miles a week, right? And then go to 15% increase each week. But if that worked for you before, do it again. So I'm on week 9 of phase 1. Thursday is the Navy PST. I've been sick with flu for 2 weeks. Still trained, just not 100%. Should I go back a couple of weeks or press on with week 9? Good question. I would try, let's do it this way. Use it as an assessment tool. That's what these tests in the middle of the workout are for. They're assessments. So assess yourself after being ill for 2 weeks. What does that yield? If you think it's going to yield bad results, who cares? Just see where you are, right? You at least now know that, hey, if I've been sick and I've only been doing 50% of my workouts, these are my results I get. But you may surprise yourself. Sometimes 2 weeks of vacation, of rest and recovery, you start this week, take a mobility day, and then test on day 4 or Thursday, and you may be rejuvenated. So give it a try. Get some good fuel that day and test all out. See what happens. I'm curious on how it goes. Send me an email afterwards. I'm a former football player and powerlifter trying to lose 100 pounds. Woo, I know what you mean. To join the Coast Guard, any help, suggestions would be greatly appreciated. Well, I would say this, given your weight, your mass, I would go with calisthenics and cardio because you're strong enough, you're big enough, got power, probably got some short speed, but you need endurance and muscle stamina. So my advice is start working on your calisthenics, start working on your cardio. However, if you're 100 pounds overweight, I don't recommend doing all running, if running at all. I would walk, I would ruck. In fact, if you're 100 pounds overweight, you're already rucking, so don't put a backpack on and ruck more. Just walk, bike, swim, elliptical, row, all non-impact cardio, and do pull-ups, push-ups, sit-ups. Probably can't do pull-ups yet, so you may have to do rows or assisted pull-ups. If you can do a pull-up at 100 pounds overweight, that's some serious strength. I've seen a lot of football player powerlifters be able to do that, and then when they dropped 50, 60 pounds, they were cranking out 20 like it was nothing, just because it's so much easier. So start practicing those pull-ups while you're heavy, and they're going to get a lot easier as you start losing weight. So start off with calisthenics and cardio. There's a beginner, intermediate, advanced program in there. If it says running, probably walk. And if you want to add anything else to it because you have time, just add in more cardio. Just melt it off. And don't eat like a football player anymore. Got to eat like you're trying to lose weight. Stu, have you trained civilians who went crow or stow? Yep, dozens. How similar the process to SEAL officers training? Well, put it this way. Anybody who is training for PJ, CCT, stow crow, they're doing the exact same workouts as all my officer enlisted SEAL candidates are doing. Only thing is a little bit different is they'll do lead arm, trail arm swimming. They'll do more freestyle than CSS. They'll do more pool skills with buddy breathing snorkel stuff. That's about it. You know, we'll add in some IFT stuff with the hex deadlift and not IFT, OFT exercises as well. But they're very similar. You train for one, you can train for both. Just make sure you're handling the specifics of whatever you're training for. Morning, sir. I'm currently wheelchair bound and in search of workouts that can challenge me, but I have a spinal cord injury, so some stuff is out the window for me. Do you have any tips on stuff that you can do from home based gym? I don't have a whole lot of experience with specialized training like that. There are some great trainers online that do. You might be able to find some on the YouTube channel and see what type of wheelchair workouts people are doing. I'd be real curious to see what you find. In fact, I'll look up some as well. But you know, I other than dumbbell work, TRX stuff, um, you know, pull ups. You know, seen pull ups in wheelchairs. You got to strap yourself in and crank out pull ups with a wheelchair. Can do that. Dips even. Um, yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you. I apologize that I don't, but I will also do some research on this question about um, wheelchair exercises. I just don't have really any experience with it. I think the closest I've ever come is helped a family member who had MS with balancing exercises and things like that. So hang in there. Keep that attitude because that's going to get you through, man. And get creative. You know. Let's see. If you were training for stow crow, what percentage of your swim training would be freestyle versus lead arm, trail arm versus CSS? Good question. I would say upper body days, we do freestyle and CSS. I'd say about 50-50. And on leg days, we do lead arm, trail arm with fins the whole time. However, some of the guys do some CSS with fins as well because once you're in dive school, you can use the CSS with fins. But while you're in dive prep and selection, you're going to do more lead arm, trail arm work. So lead arm, trail arm is more important, but CSS with fins and without fins is just fun to add to have it. So we do more freestyle CSS without fins, conditioning like 50-50s, underwaters, 10 ups, things like that, you know, on upper body days. And then on leg days, we swim with fins. Probably a 50-50 split of lead arm, trail arm, and CSS. How rare is it to see non-swimming athletes succeed in Air Force selection? if you were an adept runner growing up, should you play to your strengths or pursue Army SF? Well, I will tell you this. Most people who go to these schools are non-swimming athletes. Air Force, Buds, Recon. I mean, I can think of maybe 25% of the class were actual competitive swimmers. Everybody else did stuff on land, but they got good at swimming. They weren't competitive swimming good, but they were good at swimming. We did have one dude that was like a skateboarder and a surfer. So I would put him in that swimming athlete range. He was stud. Um, yeah. So I wouldn't sweat it. If you don't know how to swim, then yeah, go Army SF. But you should still learn how to swim. If I'm 17 and can crush the base PST, should I dep into Navy after high school or should I go to college? Let me just tell you this. It's great that you can crush the PST, but all you have done there is shown that you can get 2 buds. You haven't really shown anybody that you can get through buds. And depending on your athletic history, your scores with your lifts, your 4-mile runs, your 2-mile swims with fins, load bearing activities, you may need to finish growing before you actually get to buds. I mean, I have a 22-year-old son that still grew this year. So, um, you're not done growing yet. My advice is finish growing, get some maturity under your belt, and then go. I always tell them if you have the means to get college done, by all means, go ahead. If you don't, consider this option: learn a trade, electrician, plumber, steam fitter, welder, whatever. Learn a job, learn a skill. I mean, I personally like those options as well because one, you mix in workouts on with manual labor type work, plus get a good paycheck. You won't be in debt whenever you do decide to join the Navy. Um, Not a bad way to go, and build some maturity at the same time. Live on your own maybe in that process, so you're not homesick whenever you show up to boot camp, sleeping with a whole bunch of people in the same room that you know all over the United States, people crying around you because they're homesick. I mean, that's the kind of stuff you deal with when you're 17, 18 years old at boot camp. When you're 22 and you've already grown up, gotten over being homesick, you don't have to deal with that. And then you get to a city where you're new to, and now you're being asked to perform at your absolute maximum level and beyond, um, receiving nothing but negative feedback from instructors, looking to your left, looking to your right, and looking at these grown ass men that are there, 24, 25 years old, doing the same thing you're doing. And you're like, I feel a little out of place. So, yes, should you wait? In my opinion, absolutely. Get some college, get a job, learn, go to EMT school, whatever. But don't be in a hurry to go. You have a window from 18, 17 with parents' permission to 30, right? You don't need to be in a rush to go in your teens. Go when you're ready. At least be able to, 21 before you go. That's my opinion. A lot of people disagree with that opinion, but it's just my opinion. If you want a higher percentage of graduating, don't go as a teenager. Went for my first ocean swim. Water was 53 degrees. Woo! That'd take your breath away for a minute. So I wore a 5 millimeter wetsuit, hood, plowing through the water the whole time. Is this normal? Or is there a way to be more efficient when buoyant? I mean, that's a thick wetsuit, I think. It's not bad. I don't think you need that much rubber on. I'll have to double check. I can't remember what we used. I think we used 1/4 inch, 5 millimeter in inches is 0.9. Or 0.19. So that's only a fifth of an inch. So I think we had 1/4 inch. It's not that big a deal. I mean, I would say this: you're not going to be given pants, whenever wetsuit pants. So if you're swimming in the ocean with full wetsuit, you're going to be probably real buoyant. So just get the top and long sleeves because that's what you're going to be wearing out there, and you'll find that you're not as buoyant if you don't have a full wetsuit. All right, let's see. Falcons says I swim 920, 75, 70, 10, 9 flat. Yeah, you're not ready. I mean, no offense. Those are good run and swim scores, but my advice is be able to do 20 pull-ups and keep up with the training. That's good. I still don't think teens are ready. I don't care what your PST scores are, to be honest with you. If you have a good athletic history, that may sway me. Like we just sent a 19-year-old. He was a wrestler who could swim. He was a beast, and wound up becoming honor man of the class and graduated first time through, no rolls, complete stud. But I'm telling you, the teenagers that make it through buds are exceptional people. Every one of them. I've heard that Kerry Collett had once said that 100% of Naval Academy wrestlers that attempted buds graduated. Do you know if that is true? I mean, probably in recent years, yeah. I know there's some that did not in the 90s, but that's okay. It happens. Wrestlers who can swim do really well. Wrestlers who are not good at swimming do not do very well. That's just how it works. Good morning, sir. 47-year-old female wanted to serve a USM physician. Nice. I was crazy, out of shape. Used your programs through med school. Graduated Saturday. Yes. Promoted to LT for residency. That's awesome, Gloria. Kick some butt. I love to hear that. Congratulations. Thanks for wanting to serve. And we need doctors. Need doctors badly. So good job. Love to hear that stuff. Thoughts on Ranger versus Seal Path at 25 years old? You know what? It really depends on you, my friend. I'm not going to give you an answer one or another. I obviously had that same debate in my head when I was younger. And it was just a little bit earlier because it was kind of West Point Naval Academy type thing. But the one thing that sold me was I grew up in Florida. I was always close to a beach growing up. Not, that close, but, hour drive, I was at the beach. And I liked that. I enjoyed it. It was part of my life. I didn't see me wanting to get away from that. So I looked at where all the opportunities where I could live after graduating Naval Academy and being in the Navy. And guess what? Always a beach town near a Navy base. Now, there might be some that aren't, but for most times, if you're operational in the Navy, you're going to be at a beach town. Just the way it works. Ports, beaches. Yeah. Army, not so much. Everyone in my family was Army. So I grew up hearing stories of people living in Germany and Korea and Japan and Fort Bragg and Fort Leavenworth. None of that really appealed to me. Though I will say Germany's beautiful. Um, could live there for sure. Let's see. Falcon says he's still continuing this debate here. I'm a varsity runner and swimmer, have great history of calisthenics. My mentality is unmatched. My ability is not to quit. Hey, man, go do you. I just gave you my opinion, and that opinion is from 35 years of experience in this world. So if you can be one of those 5%ers that are going to be a teenager that graduates, prove me wrong. Every class, somebody in their teens graduates and proves my opinion wrong. However, you know what doesn't prove me wrong? The 80% attrition rate of that class is mostly teenagers. That's why I say that. Sorry, Stu, I asked early, but your newer Air Force guys, is it true that they're no longer serving as attachments, but have their own teams? Stow Crows can lead guys on missions now. I think that's the way it works. But they also do a lot of augmenting into other units like SF units, SEAL units, um, the PJs and CCTs. That's how I understand it. Stow Crows do lead as well. What programs did your HRT guys use? What were some of their professional backgrounds, if you know? Um, our HRT guys were prior military, not spec ops. One was prior law enforcement, paramedic, and became an FBI agent. The other guy became an FBI agent. They became FBI SWAT team members at their local SWAT team headquarters or area, and then became HRT members. So one's the medic for HRT. But the programs they did were the ones that we do here all the time. And this is the fall one. We did a spring and summer. They were here with us for over a year and they went through all cycles. So the spring, summer, fall, winter lift cycle, and then ramped it up, hit their selection in the summer right as we were at our peak of running and high rep calisthenics and things like that. So, yeah, they crushed it. How do you deal with haters, Stu? Family and friends trying to drag me down, but I can't get away from them. Well, that sucks. You know, it sucks that haters in your family. Um, I don't know how to tell you how to do that. I mean, I thought you meant like people that you don't know that for some reason hate you, even though they don't know you. That made no sense to me, by the way. people people talk shit about me and then they don't even know me, right? And that's usually what I say. Well, who is this guy? I don't even know that guy. He doesn't know me. You know me. What do you think? You know, the person who told me that. Um, so I wouldn't sweat it. Get away from them if you can. I mean, if you're young and you can't, you're gonna have to suck it up. Find some good influences, um, and eventually you're gonna be old enough to make decisions for yourself. Get the hell out of there and go do you. You know, but yeah. But put it this way: this is a really good quote. I want everybody to remember. We are 2 to 3 bad decisions away from losing everything. Think about that for a minute. You make 2 or 3 really dumb decisions, bad decisions, get in the wrong crowd, whether it's by, you know, just because you're in that crowd or you actually make those decisions, you could lose everything. So Stu, you're a legend. Well, thank you. I'm not a legend, but I've been doing this a while enough. I guess people say that. I am just a regular guy that wants to coach people. I really appreciate all your videos, top knot information. I wanted to ask you some tips for uniform swimming. I'm tempted to sew all those damn pockets. Yeah, I ripped all the pockets out whenever we were swimming in camis, um, and just let the water flow right through it. Um, it's up to you how you want to do that. Uh, but my advice is this: just whenever you go swimming, bring your camis with you and make it part of the swim workout. Can be 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever you take, and then do the rest of the workout. But you got to get used to swimming with camis because it's hard. And you'll realize how little you can glide and how much effort you need to put into every stroke to get across the pool compared to every stroke you do when you're slick. And it just takes some time getting used to it. But thanks for the for comments. All right, looks like couple more questions here. What goal pace sprint work tomorrow? Or doing goal pace sprint workout more? Haven't been on a track in a while. How many miles of warm up, speed workout, and CD would you recommend getting back to it? Warm ups, I usually cool down. I'm sorry, CD, cool down. My warm up, I usually do maybe a mile of warm ups, but I mix in some squats and toe touches along that mile. Maybe build up to like 50 squats and toe touches, like with a little half pyramid, 1 to 10. That's 55 reps. Skip 5, and it's only 50. Spread it like every couple hundred yards in that mile. That's how I warm up, and it's very helpful. And then we usually do like 10, 100 hundreds every minute on the minute. So we'll sprint 100, jog back, and usually you're back by, I don't know, 50 seconds. You got 10 seconds, do it again. 50, 50 or 100 hundreds. That's a hard one. Then we do some goal pace work where we do 400s or 800s for 2-3 miles. And then we do a little cool down, usually nice, easy jog, stretch along the way. So instead of doing squats and toe touches back, for that mile, just jog a little bit, stretch a little bit, jog a little bit, stretch a little bit. And that seems to be pretty helpful for us. So all in all, you got a mile warm up, mile cool down. Got 3 miles of running. That's what we did on Monday. Took us, pretty quick, and got 5 miles of running in. All right, last question. What would you do? What would some of the things to focus on to crush the O course? Ropes, grip. I'd say grip is probably the thing that gives out the most whenever you are doing that obstacle course, whether you're hanging on edge of boards or rope climbing or cargo nets or coming down the cargo net or the slide for life. Everything has to do with grip, and your grip's just like forearms are pumped. So work forearms. The other one is jumping. You want to be able to jump because that's that dirty name obstacle. You can Google it. The dirty name obstacle requires a leap of faith because you're going to jump up to this like 4-foot pole, and then you're going to jump up to this like 7-8 foot pole that's another 4 foot out in front of you. You got to hit with your ribs, roll over. It's a hard one. If you don't send it, you're not going to make it. A couple other questions just popped up. Thoughts on Stairmasters? I wrote an article on Stairmasters. Reason why I'm answering this one is because it is an article that I can quickly answer because I do need to go. So check out this link here. It is called Those Looking to Join Special Ops, Weighted Stair Steppers is a Useful Tool. So check that out. There's 3 workouts in there that are tough. And it's great for legs. It's great for lungs. It's great for load bearing. If you don't have soft sand to run in, that's a good option. I'm running a 10:30 mile and a half, so that's a 7-minute mile. How can I cut off a minute in a month? Woo, 9:30. Well, here's the deal. Right now, you're running a minute 45-second lap. Okay, if you're running a track, you're running a minute 45 seconds to be able to get that 10:30 in 6 laps. So what you need to do is drop that 10 seconds and start practicing 135s every lap. If you can drop 10 seconds per lap, you're going to be a minute faster. So that is how I would do it. I would make my runs look like 135s, right? You do it for 400s for 8 to 10 sets. You do it for 800s for 310. Learn that pace, muscle memory that pace, get in shape to run that pace. And if you're not running that much, you definitely don't want to do too much too soon, but you need to learn how to run at that pace. And then now, get in shape for that pace. So that's the quick way to do it. All right, guys, I got to go. It's been an hour. I appreciate your time. You guys check out stewsmithfitness.com for articles, books, programs. Got a ton of stuff over there. Been filling new articles this week. And, use the Live15 coupon code, save 15%. And if I missed your question, just send me an email, stew@stewsmith.com. I will see you later.